Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. It's time to turn it up and let the music flow. Step behind the curtain, take a front row seat. Talking rock and roll, got the stories on repeat. From classic hits to brand new sound, we're digging deep where legends are found. The show, let's go. Dr. Rock's backstage pass. Yes, yeah. We're talking concerts, riffs, and tracks. From past to present, the music lasts. Turn it up, let's have a blast. Let's play. From vinyl spins to streaming waves, chart toppers, deep cuts, the songs that stay. If you've got a band, let's hear your sound. Cuts, the songs that stay. If you've got a band, let's hear your sound. We'll crank it up and break it down. Let's rock, let's rock. It's time for the show, let's go. Dr. Rock's backstage pass. We're talking concerts, riffs, and tracks. From past to present, the music lasts. Turn it up, let's have a blast. Let's party. What's your favorite? What's the best show? Man, you know, what's the top track? Let's roll it back. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Dr. Rock's backstage pass. Let's ride. Music memories come alive. New tunes, old grooves. Showtime.
Is no big deal at all, right?
I love falling. Actually,
it's graceful. It's free.
No, look,
like
man, I've done the free
wind
fall.
in your hair.
Weightless.
Wind in your hair. Yes, I love that feeling.
Oh, turn the ringer off.
Yes. So yeah, this is from where this started. This little empty space in our basement. That this little section right here. Sorry to my great grandkids, was grandkids' toys.
Nice.
But they only been here once, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to turn it into a studio. So we are now witnessing the backstage pass transformation. I'm slowly getting everything put together, but it's getting there, you know. I mean, I've got you here tonight. Of course, I had my brother-in-law, you know, Randy.
Yeah.
He was here for the first episode. I tried to do one through Zoom with Jeff Borg, but I got the audio all screwed up. And then my buddy Patrick's been coming over, and we've been like working on stuff. I was trying to get everything working, so he was kind of my test pilot for everything, and now I have everything set where I want it to. Now I can just have people over and I don't have to screw around because I've got all the lighting I need. I got all three cameras work perfect. The microphones now, we both have a mic. With Randy, it was just one mic in the middle, but I ordered microphones for the DJ stuff. So
nice.
I'm like, so now when I need to go use them for a show, I just pull them right out and go do my show.
You mean to tell me when Randy was here last week, you could only come up with one microphone in this household?
Hey, look, one. Actually, I had two, but the second one broke. No, the second one, I know. Well, yeah, but I've been retired for a year. I didn't have any.
I get it. Yes.
but now I have stuff because I'm getting back into the entertainment. So also the table is not the it's not the final product. Miss Mary is working on putting a resin coat on my other table. So this is
Right.
the
Oh,
temporary
yes.
table.
I was going to remark that table you had last week. That was pretty cool. I was looking forward to that.
Well, it's upstairs.
I'll be
It
back for another adventure.
it did not it didn't end up the way it ended up Mary's way because Mary's more creative than I am. And now that I've seen how she did it, I like her way better. Mine was kind of a mess. Hers is kind of hers is organized chaos, which of course you all know all about organized chaos with me. Um, but I'm glad you came over because we haven't really hung out much in the last 4 years. Well, Cubs 2.5 of it I was in Florida. But you used to come over to my house all the time, man, and we would sit upstairs and listen to music
For hours on end.
Yeah, because we had nothing else to do because COVID.
Right.
That was our. And we stayed 6 feet apart. We were each on one side of the room,
Like we are.
like we are
right
now. Except I had a bigger vinyl collection back then.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I thinned it down to what I'm gonna actually listen to instead of. You don't need bulk anymore.
Right.
Let's go with quality instead of quantity, or something like that. Quantity. No, yeah, quality.
Right.
So, so the biggest thing I always want to know from my friends that I especially like Randy, who I hadn't talked to in a while, was what are you listening to right now? Because my music tastes have changed a lot over the last couple of years.
Oh my gosh. Yes, my musical tastes in my entire life have changed dramatically. What I'm listening to lately, you want just three?
No. I'm
gosh.
just looking at.
Well, thanks very much to Carrie's influence. I'm listening to things I've never really listened to in depth before, like female vocal jazz.
Oh,
That's one. I've also been listening to a lot of country, old country.
wait, now how old country?
40s.
Oh,
through,
okay.
40s through 60s.
Oh, so you're talking country and western music.
And, yes.
So you're talking the old school with the steel
Hey.
guitar, yeah.
Yeah, but I guess it would have been include some of the 70s stuff,
Yeah.
some Waylon and a lot of the outlaw country from
Sure.
Hank Senior or Hank Junior.
Junior,
um,
Waylon,
Waylon,
Willie. Yeah, but Willie's timeless.
Of course,
Willie's timeless.
right? But that's something that I hadn't really. I mean, there's different parts of my life where I've listened to country because that's all that I've lived in a lot of small towns in Minnesota.
Sure.
But lately, that's been it. And I've been stuck on Blue Oyster Cult.
I think you texted me that when we were talking, and it's like,
I've been stuck on Blue Oyster Cult for quite some time. My first introduction, of course, was in the mid '70s.
yeah,
But I didn't really catch on.
yeah,
And for some reason, about 3 years ago, right after I had moved into my new apartment, I listened to them. I'm like, all right, I grabbed the collection I had from you,
yeah.
and I'm like, all right, I'll listen to these guys. And I was so awestruck that it's almost all I've listened to. Sure, I've thrown in a bunch
Yeah.
of it, but so yeah, it just blew my mind how talented these guys are on those albums from their first one in '73 till like '90.
So that's funny because, being a DJ, I've listened to everything, and I can honestly say, what I've been stuck on lately is 80s hair bands, but not the mainstreamers. So I'm listening to like Tora Tora and Danger Danger and Hurricane Alice and all these bands that just missed the boat because they came out too late. Grunge was just getting ready to take over. So then I'm listening to the albums in like the 90s from these guys where they were trying to stay relevant. You know what? There's some really great music out there One of my favorites that I've been like stuck on is Tora Tora.
In the 80s, we played one of their songs.
Walking Shoes.
Yeah.
Great tune. I love that song. But that was their vibe, man. They were a great bluesy rock.
Oh my God.
You know, same thing like July 12th, Tesla is going to be at Northern Lights Casino. Now, to me, Tesla was never glam. I think you and I have actually probably talked about this a million times.
I don't know what I would have categorized them. They did some amazing ballads. They had some great hair metal, but they also had some progressive stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the stuff off of like Psychotic Supper and Bust a Nut. I mean, that was stuff that was, well, it was beyond the hair metal.
Right.
It was getting more into the alternative stuff is what they were doing.
Yeah.
And I just think that they just got, because modern day cowboy was kind of hair metal.
It was.
Yeah. But Love Song, I mean, obviously the guitar playing in Love Song is just ridiculously. Frankie Hannon is a great guitar player. But yeah, Tesla's coming, and the other one that I always thought got a bad rap during that era, and I've been listening to a lot of lately, Cinderella.
Yes.
Now, granted, Night Songs was as glam could be.
Yeah.
7 singles off of that album alone. But then Long Cold Winter came out, and it was real bluesy.
Pretty bluesy.
And then Heartbreak Station came out, and it completely stripped away anything it was. And that was just a straight blues rock album. And to me, those two albums, as much as I love Night Songs, because Shake Me, Somebody Save Me, I mean, all those were great.
Yeah.
Night Songs itself.
They were good party anthems for that era.
But when you listen to the depth that Tom Kiefer wrote those songs for Heartbreak Station and Long Cold Winter, those are great albums.
And I really like the guitar tone is much better.
Oh yeah,
he
absolutely.
Found himself, and he's a great blues guitarist.
Great blues. Unfortunately, he's got cancer on his larynx, so he never sang again, and it's sad because at least I think that's because they said that Steven Tyler had to quit singing, but I heard from a reliable source who knows somebody just saying
I heard he relapsed.
He did. That's exact words that came out of his mouth was
I heard he was drunk as fuck.
He was hammered the last time this guy saw him. Oh no, there's a parental advisory right on this thing because this is uncensored. Hey, look, it's all about rock and roll, and there's no such thing as censorship in rock and roll. Fuck you, PMRC.
Yeah, Steven Tyler.
Yeah, Steven. You know, and that's sad too because I mean I've seen Aerosmith with Kiss when Mary and I just first got together. That was what 2004 or 3. We saw him in Aerosmith. Well, I was honking on Bobo, so it was 2004.
Yeah,
absolutely unbelievable live. Unbelievable. Kiss was Kiss.
So.
No, it was great. Kiss was Kiss. They did everything in that show they did in '77.
So
it was big, basically. Big, loud, lots of fire, lots of explosions, lots of blood.
Right.
But Paul didn't jiggle as badly without a shirt.
Yes,
on
but Paul took off his shirt and he had man titties that were bouncing like you would not believe. But and then of course the worst part about it all was Eric Singer is the drummer now playing Peter Criss.
Yeah.
His microphone wasn't on during Death.
Ooh.
All we could hear was the monitor. And it sucked because it came on about halfway through. I was like, God. But Tommy Thayer did Shock Me, and he did a great job with it. Tommy Thayer is a great guitar player. Ace. As much as I respect Ace was not
a pioneer in some style.
Yeah,
but
he was very sloppy.
He never evolved past the drunk sloppy Ace. Much.
You know what? I know a guy like that from a band back in the '90s. Could have been the next, but he just was. He was a drug addict, drunk that just could not listen to people that are saying, dude, you are the best guitar player in the world. You need to like focus on it. And he just wanted to be in a bar band.
Right.
And the one that played with Jay, Speedy. Yeah, Speedy was the dude could play anything. Here at one time he could play it note for note. But he liked heroin. At least I believe it was heroin. Probably. So Blue Oyster Cult. So what is the fascination with it now? Because I'm not a huge I shouldn't say I'm not a huge fan. I'm not a huge knowledge of them other than the City Rock and Roll.
Cities on Flames.
Yeah, I had that vinyl.
All right. Well, I guess the thing that caught me immediately is they're great musicians.
Okay.
They're the mechanics, the architecture of their songs, I guess, the arrangement is genius. There's these little teeny nuances that like a little teeny bell will come in once and you're just wow. Every song on every album is like it's from a different genre, from a different band. So
kind of like 10cc was a little bit completely different music, but one song was pop, one was punk, one was reggae.
Yeah,
they did all these
different stuff all the way through, and there's also this one kind of flowing theme. Well, two of them. One, he's kind of angry at his girlfriend. One of which was Patti Smith from Robert Mapplethorpe's Patti Smith group.
That Patti Smith.
Yeah.
Okay, because Patti Smith was also
not with
Scandal.
No.
One, so the other, the skinny Patti Smith,
the heroin addict,
the heroin addict
guy that used to stick a bullwhip up his ass on Manhattan Avenue. Guy boyfriend, that Patti Smith.
Okay.
Yes.
For all of you that didn't catch that, we'll replay that.
Well, yes.
Yes, he did say bullwhip up his ass.
The handle up.
Yes.
The handle up.
Look it up on YouTube or on Facebook. It's there.
Robert Mapplethorpe was
Mapplethorpe.
his name.
Well, with a name like Mapplethorpe, he likes bullwhips.
Anyway. Kind of avant-garde artiste.
Yeah, sure. That's what they called porn back in the day.
In the 1970s. That was, So Madison Square Garden did some crazy stuff. But I'm just telling you, the musicianship, the whole thing about it, they're like Rush, where the musicianship is top quality, and the arrangement is precise.
Yeah.
And
Boston, another one.
Yes.
That first Boston
even
album.
though that was Tom Schultz.
Yeah. All by himself, pretty much. Yeah.
But
that was
Prince.
Oh, Prince, one of the greatest musicians.
And he has fantastic diversity on his albums, which is one of the things that makes him so great. And besides the fact that he's a phenomenal musician and songwriter and producer and technician, and he does it all. He sits behind,
He does it all, and that's the thing. And that's the thing that's always made me love Prince is the fact that his first album that he did, Prince, he produced it, recorded it, did it all himself, and it sounded better than anything that was out there on the market at the time. And people were like, what do we do with this guy? They're like, give him all the money he wants and let him do what he wants. And then Dirty Mind came out, and Controversy, and all these great soulful, bluesy, rock, funk albums that he was putting. People are like, who the hell is this guy? That was the Minneapolis sound. The world wasn't ready.
Way different than L.A. or New York.
Yeah, a lot of soul, because the northern. It's what he did to music. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. The androgyny. Granted, Freddie was out before him, and of course, so was David Bowie.
There was New York Dolls.
But he really made it. Women wanted to be with him, and guys wanted to be with him, like hang out with him. But he didn't like anybody.
Yeah, he was. I don't know that he didn't. I think he was just private. I think he liked people.
Yeah.
Probably even loved people.
He
Just didn't want them close.
Yeah.
Stay that far away.
Yeah. Well, table distance away.
Oh, my brothers, I had two brothers who were in a movie with him.
Oh, nice.
And one morning, one guy walked up and said, "Good morning" to Prince. He was immediately fired.
Yeah. He was, he turned out to be kind of a prima donna. But you know what? Fame will do that to you.
Drugs will do that to you, too.
Drugs will do that to you.
And the fame.
And the fame.
When everybody around you starts treating you like you're a god, you become one. People are easy to corrupt.
I hate
Not
to
just
say
musicians.
I hate to say, but I actually got that way once in the entertainment world as Dr. Rock. I literally thought I thought I was bigger than the job itself, and everything revolved around me. And I got brought down to earth by a special person who told me, "You ain't shit." And she's in the room right now. So
that alter ego has a way of taking over.
it does.
It happened to me in the 80s. I became sharp abrasive. There were no more barbed wires.
No.
It was just me.
Yeah, and now that I'm out and coming back into the industry, I have a whole new appreciation for the art of what I did. A well-crafted show for me is perfection, and if you can get one of those a month where from the minute you get in your car until you leave, everything just happens. It perfectly flows, and the show is great, and no issues with audio, no issues with crowd.
That's nice.
And then you get paid. You go home, and then you go, man, I get paid to do that every day.
Right.
Where now I'm in retail, and I realize how much more working for a living is compared to being an entertainer. Because the sky's the limit as an entertainer. I can make as much as I can make if I'm willing to work hard.
Right.
Where it doesn't matter how hard I work at somebody else's job, I'm still going to make $24 an hour, $28 an hour, $16, whatever they pay,
whatever they're paying,
40 hours a week. So at the end of the week, I know I'm going to have $700 and something.
Yeah.
So then you start like, okay, well then I guess I'm going to live within my means, but I have a champagne taste on a water budget. I take that back. I'm kind of gotten frugal. I don't necessarily spend as much as I used to, but when I want something, I just buy it. And then I have to explain to her why I bought it without telling her that I bought it. So I usually have about...
Could that be 30 black t-shirts with sayings on them?
There's a saying on one of my t-shirts, "Oh, my wife's last nerve, I want to touch it." That's who I am all the time. I'm just ready to push that last nerve on her, and she's going to snap. But thank God I have my basement, because there's a separation for a while.
You guys
so we can go our separate ways for a couple hours.
Yeah, it's nice to have that.
Yeah.
So I see you're wearing a Black Sabbath t-shirt from 1970, a year before I was even born. So now was that the year Black Sabbath came out, or was that Paranoid?
This was the year Black Sabbath came out.
Okay.
But this is actually a reproduction. This was from a concert I went to in 2017 or 2018 in Twin Cities.
Okay.
Where we're redoing that concert, which was probably for their first couple albums.
Sure.
I believe their first album came out in 69.
69, and I think they had...
And then
Paranoid was 70, right, and then there was 2 albums in like a year that they put out.
Yeah.
Because I have Paranoid on vinyl still, because, right. 7 out of the 8 songs were singles. It's a great album.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that concert. It was all 4 original members.
All 4 original members.
Now, obviously, they were all very up there in age. So, but how was the experience seeing Black
And,
Sabbath on stage.
It was amazing. It really was. I got very fortunate and had really good seats.
Okay.
I was maybe 2 rows up out on kind of a balcony looking down onto the stage
Sure.
from the side, 40 feet away from Geezer.
Nice.
Ozzy would come over there once in a while. Tony came over once towards
Okay.
the end, but he would look out. Other than that, it was, I got to see everything. Plus, if it, there was always the big screen,
Yeah.
which to me, the live was better.
See, and that's what Randy and I talked about in that first episode was, you know what? Yeah,
The cell phones.
I'll be like, hey, I'm
They're
at this
everywhere.
concert because I want it for me.
I take 10
But
pictures.
the people that are holding their phones up and they're watching it through their phone, like, you do realize if you move that over, you can actually see it live instead of they can't watch anything unless it's on their phones nowadays. Dude, we just got done seeing Disturbed and it was phenomenal because my phone was in my pocket pretty much the whole time, except for when I took a poor picture of us like this. I went, okay, put it away. I was looking in the rafters. I was watching the guys walking around up there during the breaks, of course not. But when I paid money to go see the concert, I want to experience everything: the light show, the sound, what the band is doing. I even like to look backstage and see who's running around. But I want to put it in the encyclopedia upstairs.
Exactly.
So anyway, Black Sabbath. So I mean, obviously they did all of their hits.
Did all their songs. I don't, Ozzy was pretty on point. He was hitting the notes that night. I felt lucky. We were early in the tour, so
yeah.
I think we were like the second show. Maybe.
Okay.
So they had gotten their warm-up show. I think it was like in Madison, and
that was the 13 album, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I think I remember.
Yeah.
I was still living in Rapids at the time. I remember we talked about it a little bit. How you said it was. Now, who was with them that day? Who opened for?
I remember that.
I know. We're old.
Not a clue.
But Black Sabbath was Black Sabbath.
Might have been Hailstorm.
Oh, it might have been. You know what? I think it was because I remember you came back and you were like, "Oh my God, Hailstorm!" and you were all
Lizzie Hale.
Yeah,
my God, she's great.
We saw her at Moondance. That last year, Moondance was here, and yeah, she's a rock star, man. She is. If you look in the dictionary, female 2000s female rock star, Lizzie Hale.
Yep.
Yeah, she had the big purple mohawk and stuff. She was.
That's all she had when.
She's a badass.
Right.
And then, of course, the "Here's to Us" song that she does with all the guest vocalists. It's one of my favorite things that she does.
I don't know the name of the song. I could recognize a couple of them.
Sure.
But the one with the kind of the ballad with piano, where she really
belting
it out.
Yeah.
Man,
she
got a voice.
She does. Yeah. So you got to experience. I've never seen either Ozzy or Black Sabbath. And obviously now I never will because they have the one final show that they're doing, which is going to be. I mean, it's going to be monumental. I mean, it's going to be.
21st in Minneapolis.
Huh?
If he lives that long.
Yeah, if he lives that long. Yeah. The big one that they're doing at Donington, isn't it? They're doing all four of them are getting back for the one.
Bill Ward's coming back.
One concert.
Oh my
They're
God!
Doing it's a farewell. Look up Black Sabbath farewell, and because it's Black Sabbath.
In Minneapolis, opening band for Black Sabbath was Rivals.
Oh yes.
Hailstorm has never opened for.
Anyway, look up
with,
Black Sabbath final concert. But yeah, it was announced that Bill was coming back for one last. They wanted to do one last show.
Doesn't he have Parkinson's, or was it just a feud?
No, it's Parkinson's. Yeah, but does it say? What's the date for the final concert?
In Minneapolis.
No,
it's
not in Minneapolis. It's in England.
Oh,
it's in Birmingham, Villa Park in Birmingham.
Yeah,
Birmingham, England.
July 5th 25.
So July 5th
Wow.
is they're going to be all four of them doing. I'm assuming it'll be
Short show.
a very abbreviated show, probably a mashup of all the hits. But hey, look, man, you're going to be able to put all four of those guys back together one last time. It's going to be a great show.
So then they're not gonna have the same.
And that's right.
No,
where
it'll
they
be
came
this
from.
year?
That's right where they came from.
Yeah, that's the coal mine, or not the coal mines, the
Coal
factories.
factory.
Yeah, the
Coal
coal.
smoke.
Yep.
The noise. That's how they came up with their sound.
Yeah.
Everything. They were all deaf by
They
the
were all
time they
deaf,
were
so they
18 because they had to work for 2 years in one of the steel factories.
So the one thing that I miss about not living in Grand Rapids was having you over several times, three or four times even it was 3 or 4 times a month there for a while. And we would just sit down and we would just randomly grab vinyl and get really, really, really high.
Yeah.
Because it was COVID and there was nothing else to
There
do.
was gummies and
Cereal bars
cereal
and
bars
and
there was
Crazy came
vapes.
over that time.
Oh God.
That was an experience. But yeah,
He
we'll just
came more than once.
Yeah.
It was hard to listen to the music when he was there because
he wanted to talk or sing. And nothing again, I love you crazy, but there were times up there it was supposed to be let's enjoy the music and talk after the song. But anyway, hopefully Crazy comes on. I sent him a message, invited him over, so
good.
I think it'll be fun to have him over here to do a show.
Yeah.
But I remember the one time that you came over and I think you had already either eaten an edible before you came, more than likely, and then you came over and we smoked a vape,
Oh man.
and then I think you had a cereal bar or two. We were sitting there and it
Was that one of the homemade ones?
yes, Mary's cereal bars. Her Delta 8 bars, the 600 milligram bars.
But sometimes I think when they were being mixed,
It was all the one
a
side.
big glob would be in the one little bite you'd give me,
That you
and
gave-
the rest of the thing would be a normal cereal bar.
Because there was the one time you were like, we were listening. I think we were listening to it was Uriah Heep, Demons and Wizards,
Probably.
and you were like, I can see the music coming out of the speakers. You need to bring me home now. I'm like, okay, Dale. It was. I think that was an eye-opening. It was a third eye experience for you because. But you know what? And actually, the reason I brought that story up is because that was something my dad, since I was a young boy, used to always tell me is the music is a wall of music coming at you, and what you have to do is you have to get past that wall, and you need to be able to hear the song from that singer's point of view. And once you can get past that wall of music and hear the story that they're telling you, you're going to enjoy music a lot more than just listening for the guitar, listening for the drums, or just listening to the singer. You need to listen to it as one.
All of it.
And then break it down so you can get past, and then you'll be looking at you listening to the music. My dad was a pothead. It was probably some hokey pokey shit that he was talking about.
Well, it makes sense.
But it
to a
always
degree,
resonated with me.
You want to be able to absorb the whole of the song.
Yeah.
And you want to be able to understand the song either the way you understand it or the way the singer intended it, or band,
Yeah.
So I guess that's probably what he intended. So
I think
if you
that's
know
what
those things, you get a better connection to the music.
Oh, absolutely. There's songs that, I mean, I could just start thinking about them in the hair of my arms. Just the song, thinking about the song,
And
not even.
that happened to you in your last episode.
Yeah. That's just the crazy thing about, and of course I have signs all over down here in the green room and in here is, music is what feelings sound like.
Yeah.
To me, when I am in that zone, like especially when I'm in the Zen den and I'm laid back in that chair and I've got a nice heavy blanket on and that thing is just ripping through CDs and the 200 disc changer and every song is perfect. It's the perfect song comes up next after that other one. and then that one song plays, and you know, okay, this is the finale of the night because it can't get any better. Thomas was over,
Right.
and it was Purple Rain, and it was literally the best I've ever heard Purple Rain. And I told Thomas this story. I said, look, as soon as by the way, Aerosmith is playing it. You guys can't hear it, but I can. Take Me to the Other Side by Aerosmith. I told Thomas, you'll know when it's time to get out of the Zen Den because of that song. And Purple Rain got done playing, and he said, fuck it, I'm done. And he walked out, and I was like, he knows. And it was perfect. But that's how I always tell Mary, and I tell lots of people, if you could only hear the music how I hear it, you would understand why I love music so much. If you could hear the music the way I hear it, even if I could take this and put it into a computer and say, okay, just tell the world how I see things when music is playing, I could be a bazillionaire because everybody would want that drug. Music to me is the best drug in the world.
Absolutely, by far the best. And you coming from that entertainment standpoint that you all touched on it last week, you know, to be able to perform and have the music included in it is special too. So
there's no drug anybody can give me that can get me that high of either being on stage or being in front of a crowd, and the crowd is into it, and the music is perfect, and I'm on point, and the light show is perfect, and the atmosphere, everything is just absolutely. You know what? I could smoke everything in the world that I have, and it would still not compare.
Right.
But once you get that, it's just like heroin, though. Once I get that high, you want to chase it every night because, I mean, and obviously there's been times where I've fallen off, and I'm just like, it's a job.
Yep.
But it was always just because I was working a job and doing it at the same time.
Right.
Where, you know, this last time I retired, I was like, you know what? I still love it, but I also love my family. I need to be home, and so I gave it up.
Then there are ways to.
You know, I have this. This is an instrument for me to continue on in the entertainment, talking about the music, listening to the music here, prepping for my show.
And Miss Mary's right here.
Miss Mary's right here with me. And Carrie's back there sleeping. Oh, maybe not. Okay. All right. So now I gave you a little homework, kind of. I told you. So Miss Mary hit number 7 on the board. So we're going to talk about top 3 albums of all time. Your 3. Obviously, my 3 you heard last week. Everybody else heard last week. Paul's Boutique, 1989, Beastie Boys. 1978, Van Halen. 1984's Purple Rain. And honorable mention is the 2018 album, 19 album by the Bad Wolves, Disobey, which is, of course, got Zombie and all the Remember When. That, to me, is probably one of my new favorite.
For new stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that, too.
That album, I could actually mow my lawn from front to end back when we lived in Rapids.
Yeah.
That whole album would play in entirety, and I would be pulling into my garage getting done mowing the lawn. So that was my mowing the lawn album. So I listened to it twice a week for as many years as it was out. So
nice.
So your top 3 now. Randy's were Def Leppard, Hysteria, or no, Pyromania, Iron Maiden's Somewhere in Time, and Pantera's Vulgar Display of Power. Now those are 3 great albums.
I would agree.
And I appreciate the fact that he went from new wave of British heavy metal to groove metal to whatever the hell Iron Maiden was at the time. They were trying to, I don't know what they were, because that was kind of in their glam era, because that was Wasted Years and all that stuff. But I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Iron Maiden.
But there was some really good songs on that. too.
Oh yeah,
It was I preferred earlier Maiden myself.
as
but
well
there
did
were,
I.
That one was there were still some good tracks on somewhere.
Absolutely, some great tracks. So let's hear what Dale's top 3 albums of all time are.
Well, Judas Priest, Screaming for Vengeance.
I know how much of a Priest fan you were. I was expecting a Priest in there somewhere, so that's a great album. So now tell me why that album is in your top 3. What are the tracks on there that you love the most off of it?
Just the influence it had on
Okay.
me at the time in my life and through my musical career. Just way it kind of shaped me.
Sure.
Yes. The fact that it's not necessarily one of their more timeless albums, but it also it's a quintessential British first wave British heavy metal
Absolutely.
and of its finest caliber.
Oh, 100%.
So Rob's vocals are at his peak.
Oh, yes.
All of the, I believe it's still the classic lineup.
I believe it still was. I believe it didn't change over until Turbo. I believe is when they lost a couple because they didn't want to go, because obviously we all know Turbo was their glam metal album and it was awful. It was terrible. That was kind of the downfall of them.
It wasn't Priest anymore.
No, it wasn't. Turbo Lover is just a bad song too.
But yeah.
Anyway, so Screaming
for Vengeance just kind of had it all.
What was the big single off of Screaming for Vengeance? Was
for
that
me?
Yeah. I mean, I know it had one.
Well, You Got Another Thing Coming and then
that was the radio hit.
Yeah, that was the radio hit, big single. And there was couple others on there. I just can't even think of the lineup.
That's hey, look, man, it's late in the evening. You've had a little, I've had a little.
And
so number 2.
Number 2 would have to be Deep Purple Greatest Hits. It came out in '76.
Okay.
And it had a couple of live songs on it, as well as a greatest hits of their Mark IV generation.
Sure.
And every song on it to me was amazing. Richie Blackmore's always been probably he's not a nice person, but as far as guitarists go, he's probably the most technically accurate. Better than Eddie, not faster. Better.
No, better. Yeah.
So Deep Purple, that album.
So what were some of the early tracks on that one? Like, was that Hush?
Highway Star.
Highway Star.
Hush was on there.
Burn, I suppose.
Burn.
Yeah.
Space Truckin'.
Oh, Space Truckin'.
Highway Star.
Yeah.
Smoke on the Water, of course.
Yeah.
But Burn too.
Burn, that's
My
good.
God, that guitar is a tricky thing.
Yeah. That's a great song.
So yeah, Richie Blackmore always says. So yeah, that album was full of just a bunch of hits.
Okay.
And,
So
a couple of them were live. Burn and Highway Star were live.
okay. So first album, I'm 100% on board with. I think Screaming for Vengeance, great choice. Obviously, Deep Purple. I love Deep Purple. I mean, you and I sat and listened to lots of Deep Purple back at the old compound there.
Right.
And I mean, I know we've listened to Machine Head at least a half a dozen to a dozen times.
And I debated. I knew I was going to pick a Deep Purple album, and Stormbringer.
It's a fucking great album.
Who do we think we are?
Yeah.
I could pick
Yeah.
a couple other Deep Purple albums,
But
but
I think
the greatest hits contained a song from each.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a great choice. I love Deep Purple. I mean, in the entertainment world, you unfortunately get stuck playing pretty much one or two of their songs. You don't get to really dig deep into their library because Deep Purple's not really somebody that everybody knows all the tracks. You know, it's like they know Highway Star and they know Smoke on the Water. You get into Burn, they'll be like, huh? You know, so you kind of have to. Unfortunately, you have to
Child in time.
play your crowd. And now, if I was in a biker bar and I played anything off of Deep Purple, they would probably go absolutely batshit crazy. But
Right.
I didn't do a whole lot of biker bar DJing.
Right.
So, all right. So, what is number 3 now? This has always been everybody's hardest one to get.
Led Zeppelin 4.
Yeah. Well, and that was actually the question upstairs because I was talking about pop culture trivia, which is what I'm going to be getting back into in June. Was what's the 4th track on the 4th album from Led Zeppelin? Stairway to Heaven. But that could be one of my trivia questions in pop culture because that's a pop culture question. I don't care who the Queen of England was in 1754, but I do want to know what the 4th track on the 4th album from Led Zeppelin is because it's 8 minutes and 28 seconds long. Led Zeppelin 4. I mean, come on, it starts right off with "Hey, Mama, see the way you move."
I mean, Black Dog sends chills up my spine even today.
Oh, wait, there they go. Just thinking about that.
I mean,
and
everything
rock and roll.
about it. Yes.
I mean, it's hence the reason why it's Led Zeppelin 4. It's everybody knows that album.
Catch me in the right mood, and even though I've heard Stairway to Heaven 18 billion times, it still is a headbanger.
If I'm in the room and it comes on, absolutely it bangs. And yeah, that's it's got that it's a romantic
Robert
build.
Plant's voice is dreamy.
It just
if I was a girl, I would have certainly fallen in love.
Them locks that he had. Man. Oh man, come on. Yeah, and that's what always pissed me off about the music industry, calling them hard rock. They were a blues band, 100%. There's even Robert Plant and Jimmy Page at Fountain said, "We're the farthest thing from a rock band. We are not. We are blues."
And
granted, they're a blues rock band, but
yeah.
So you can go back to 6 now. We're done.
They played a couple of country songs.
Yeah, they did absolutely, and actually, so out of all of those albums,
through the outdoor, you got that.
All of those albums, that is actually the only one I have. This is actually an original pressing of it, man.
That's very nice.
Yeah, it's great condition. But yeah, this is a great album, man. It's
hard to beat.
It is hard to beat.
So I guess those would that's what I would want if I was going to be stuck on a desert island with a turntable, an amp, and a big fucking set of speakers.
Well, maybe somebody on the water will hear you.
And somebody's diesel generator would want.
Yeah, no, those are 3 great albums, and what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna keep a database of everybody that comes here,
right?
And at the end of say a year of doing these, I'm gonna be like, all right, what was the one album so far? All 9 have been different. All 9 have been different, so that's a good thing. Oh no, that's diversity,
right?
It's DEI in it. I'm sorry. We'll cut that part out right there. No political talk on this show. Never gonna give you up. I was actually gonna have a button on there where if we started talking political on the show, they could do that, and then the video would start playing on here. I'll have to do that because anyway, I don't cut anything. These are going to be played straight through. So once again, Dr. Ock's Backstage Pass does not talk about any political things on there. So let's scratch that. Anyway. But they have been very diverse albums. I mean, thrash metal down to your classic blues rock band to, Judas Priest, new age British heavy metal. You kind of hit all 3 really great genres there, though. The arena rock were they arena rock? What would you consider Deep Purple? They were arena rock. I mean, they filled arenas.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, they were trying to be as big as Led Zeppelin. They were trying to be as big as Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
In fact, I believe they toured with Sabbath at least once.
Okay.
And I know that they were in pretty much that same era, even though Richie Blackmore came from earlier groups like did Jimmy Page.
Yeah.
They just
Page was in the Yardbirds, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
And
he had been a studio musician
Yeah.
even before that.
And where did Blackmore come from? I'm trying to remember where Richie Blackmore played. Well, yeah,
I don't remember that right now either, but
trying to remember who he played with before. Well, he was in Rainbow.
that was after Deep Purple.
Was it after Deep Purple? Okay.
And yeah, he played with Rainbow, and he had like different lead singers, including John Dio
Dio, yep.
in Rainbow.
Yep, he had several different singers.
Played with the Outlaws.
Oh, he was with the Outlaws. I did not know
Right.
that. Little Green Grass and High Tides. That's a classic right there to play on Guitar Hero. Holy, that fucking thing's like 11 and a half minutes long.
Wow.
That's one of the longest songs I think is on Guitar Hero.
Said he started out playing in a skiffle band at the age of 13. No idea what a skiffle.
No idea
Some
what a
kind
skip.
of British,
Probably some kind of British pop.
ska.
Ska. Ska. Hey, you know what? That's actually making a huge comeback.
Really?
Ska, not
Oh.
the what?
So in the U.S., it derives from blues, ragtime, and folk music using both improvised and conventional instruments. But in British, kind of a folk music with a bluesy or jazzy flavor that was popular in the 1950s.
Well, that's cool.
That's
So
different.
the not the dub ska like Sublime kind of stuff, but actual ska like the Jamaican ska
Right?
is making a huge comeback right now
Nice.
in Florida. All these DJs down there are playing this.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, I like ska. I mean, I like the 90s ska that came out, like Mighty Mighty Boss Tones and all that stuff.
Right.
Cherry Poppin' Daddies and Squirrel Nut Zippers, all those. It was just fun music for
It
a
was
couple
fun.
of years. It didn't last very
I
long.
didn't listen to very much of it, but I had a friend in Duluth. When I first met him, he was a young musician struggling, working at a coffee shop in downtown Duluth called Jitters.
Okay, I know Jitters.
So I just got to know him across the counter. Well, he ended up buying his own coffee shop in West Duluth with a big stage area, so his band would have a place to play to the public, and he would make his money by having the coffee shop. And I'm like, what a brilliant thing! And it became cool. He would have these festivals there and stuff.
Sure.
And his music evolved. He didn't stay ska very long, but
Yeah, I have often thought of that. It's like, I opened a bar. Then I could do the entertainment the right way, the way I know it should be done. But then I have to own a bar, and that sucks. Never mind. I don't want to own a bar. I don't want to own anything anymore. I just
right.
no. I'm happy just working a couple of nights, doing this, doing that. This is really what I want to do. I think this would be able to do this 3 or 4 nights a week. Just sit and bullshit with people and get paid.
Right?
Wait, I do that already. Never mind. No, this is what I've been talking about wanting to do a pod. I mean, you remember me talking about wanting to do podcasts back then.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we had one called Welcome to the Shit Show, but that was a little bit more political.
Yeah, I was in on that at least once.
Yeah, you were in on that one at least once. I remember that now. I think I still have the video. I have all of those videos from the 100 shows we did online with the Music Bingo. I have all of those still on a hard
I
drive.
did a couple of those too.
Yes, you
online
did.
ones.
Guest hosted on that. Yeah. So what my biggest takeaway from all of this is trying to keep music alive. That's the whole reason I'm recording these, is because it'll get locked away somewhere on the internet, and someday somebody will find, be like, oh, what the hell is these? What is this? These old guys talking about? But I just want to be able to preserve stories for people, especially my great grandkids. I can't tell them all the stories, but if I record all these and I can give them to them, and they can listen to what great grandpa.
You think they're gonna listen to some Five Finger Death Punch?
Oh, you absolutely know that my 3-year-old great grandson already has a ponytail.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Oh, he came. Well, I have a video of him in the Zen Den, him and his daddy, and we had music playing, and he was bouncing around.
Nice.
So I think great grandpa should be a good influence on him. I mean, like Randy and I talked about, and I never told my kids they couldn't listen to anything. Hey, that's your music. I don't understand it, but go ahead, listen to it, because my dad never told me I couldn't, like, no, you can't listen to that stuff. And I was like, whatever, you like the Beastie Boys, listen to the Beastie Boys. I'm not going to listen to it. But then he started listening to it because one song, White Castle fries only come in one size. My dad loved White Castle. He heard that line, and then he went and bought the License to Ill CD, and it was in his CD player in his truck. And I'm like, you just ruined the Beastie Boys for me, Dad. No, my dad can't listen to the Beastie Boys. That's my music. But because he liked one line, just like I took him to see Limp Bizkit because he loved Limp Bizkit, but one song got his attention, and that was Break Stuff. He heard it on 93X down in the cities, and he fell in love with the band because of that song.
Wow.
But he fell in love with the band because of a song. He didn't know their catalog,
Right.
but it got to the point where my dad knew almost every song by them because he fell in love with them. And
that's crazy.
it is, because nu metal. I never thought my dad would listen to nu metal. And so the fact that I got to bring him to that concert was pretty cool.
At least the bands he was listening to were good bands.
Yeah, no, he was a great influence on me. Jimi Hendrix, he played a lot of Jimi Hendrix, but I was a little too young still at the time. I didn't understand what he was playing. And like I always said, I always kept my dad's music in my head because that was what I thought was my music, but it really was my dad's music.
Right.
Even the 80s with the hair bands, as much as I love my hair bands, and like I said, I'm reinventing myself back into them. One of the most influential years of my life listening to music were actually the years that I was in the bars and I was doing the DJ work, which was the 90s. So not necessarily the grunge movement, because I really didn't care for grunge, even though I did dress in Doc Martens and the flannel and all that whole bullshit look for the ripped t-shirts and all that crap. I did that. But I didn't like Nirvana.
Right.
Great. I was more into Stone Temple Pilots. I was huge into Pearl Jam on 10 and on Versus. Loved Soundgarden, loved Alice in Chains. So, and then I started getting into like Green Day and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden the whole 90s thing took off, and I was just like, holy shit, there was so much great music came out in the 90s that I hated because you weren't supposed to like it. Because you're a hairman guy, you can't like that music, because we were trying to hold on to our youth. And like Dave Matthews Band, Dave Matthews is so talented. That
like
the 6-hour jams that he does. I mean,
right. I wish I could be in a band like that.
They're
playing. Going nowhere, but they're having fun, and
bass players just hitting one note until Dave moved. I better change notes. But but see, that's the Grateful Dead kind of thing. I never got into the Grateful Dead because my dad didn't listen to the Dead, so I don't understand jam bands. I don't understand them. I wish I did, because I know some of the best music is the improvised music. When a guitar, hence the live recording of Freebird, where Gaines just kept going. The band's like, is this motherfucker ever gonna stop? But it's because he was feeling that, and especially what we just watched the video of it. I mean, the way he's jumping around on stage. I mean, it was his soul was coming out for everybody at that concert.
Was part of him.
Yeah, and that is something that I wish I had the dexterity to be able to play guitar, because I since day one I've always wanted to be in a band, and we actually we almost started a band.
Mike was in a band with me.
I was. We were the
No,
Dale and Mike experience. A couple of weeks.
The bass player quit first.
Bass player. It's always the bass player's fault, The damn bass players.
I wish he would have brought his cabinet over.
Well, and then
because he left his head really nice bass head. Left the house, and
And we had my niece Presley came over and played drums once.
yes,
That was fun. But yeah, no. So we actually there were two songs we got pretty good at. Radar Love, and the Ramones.
Which one?
Um,
Blitzkrieg.
hey, oh
Yeah, Blitzkrieg
let's go.
Bop.
Yeah.
First time I played that song, I was like 16, 15 maybe.
So nobody knows the story. Like I asked Randy, what was the first song that got you into music, and his was Iron Man by Black Sabbath. Now you've told me the story 100 times about your first experience with rock and roll.
So my life, I remember being too young to know what's going on, like 4 or 5, sitting on my dad's lap while he's playing guitar. And I continued to do that until maybe after first grade, second grade, where I started to try and learn. And he continued to teach me and a little bit here and there. But he played bluegrass and some really old style country. Anyway, that was my initial introduction to music. I grew up way out in the country. We had AM radio. We maybe got 2 TV stations decently. I didn't really even know that heavy metal existed. I had no clue. And I snuck off one evening with an older friend and went to a show that was being put on at the stage in the elementary school gym. And I had no clue. We're just hanging out on this where it's normally the kids play kickball and or volleyball, whatever. And up behind a curtain, there's some people up there doing some work. Well, after about a half an hour, the lights go out, and I'm watching, and I have no clue. Well, curtain falls open to pyrotechnics and the song "Hair of the Dog" by Nazareth. Now, I shit you not, like a laser bolt from hell struck me right in the forehead and transfixed me there, going, that is what I want to be.
I know that feeling, brother.
And I became quite obsessed with learning to play guitar like that and learning to look like that.
What was your first guitar?
My oldest brother, who happened to be 22 years older than me, had ordered a Silvertone guitar and amp, Sears and Roebuck. So I got this surfer guitar.
Yeah.
Now it had 2 pickups. I think it had 2 volumes and a tone. I think it had a tremolo, but it would get out of tune. And it came with flat wound strings.
Oh, geez.
Surfer guitars.
Surfer guitars, yeah.
And they were just heavy duty, but they lasted a long
Surfer
time.
guitar like Dick Dale and the Tornadoes and stuff.
Exactly.
Telstar. Just for those that don't know what surfer rock was.
It was shaped a lot like a Fender Mustang, sort of.
Okay.
But more unique, and the neck was shorter.
Okay.
And then, but the pickups were just very light, very small wound, not very powerful, not very dynamic in any way. Single coils. They looked cool, but they were actually on little platforms above the base of the guitar too. So they were meant to be very mellow.
Sure.
Yeah. And then, with the flat wound strings, I mean, I wish I would have learned how to play slide.
So let me guess, the first song you learned to play on guitar was
Wipeout.
Hey, that was the first song my brother learned.
Hey, no, I was expecting Hair of the Dog because but
no, because I already had the electric guitar.
Oh, I suppose you were playing
before I even knew that.
Sure.
And it came with this little Silvertone tube amp. I don't know how many watts. Another 12-inch.
Wow.
Probably a 3 or a 5 watt amp.
Okay.
And yeah, it'd get a little grungy when you'd crank
Sure.
it way up, but I was never allowed to. And I was a tinkerer. So later on, I bought a Les Paul copy from Montgomery Ward's that
Montgomery Ward,
had
that's
had
neat.
a effects box built in.
Okay.
It had distortion, echo, tremolo,
Some reverb.
a couple of different,
Yeah.
and they weren't very good at all. The distortion was okay,
Sure.
or so I thought, which is the only one I pretty
Yeah.
much used.
Well, yeah, it was rock and roll, man.
So, and that also, it had, it looked like it had standard double coil Les Paul pickups, the covers,
Sure.
but I found out from a friend that if you take the covers off, it looks really cool. So I took the covers off and I was bummed because they were just single coil.
Oh no. So you learned how to play Wipeout. That was the first song you learned.
Yeah, my parents bought me a book that was Learn How to Play something, and
Sure.
in it had a little vinyl record cutout.
Oh yeah, I remember those.
And I tore that thing out of there, put it on, and I learned. And it taught me the pentatonic blues scale.
Yep.
It taught me and a couple of riffs, and it taught me how to play along to like a couple of songs in this little book on lessons. And that's that. And then I learned it within a week. So, but it taught me the pentatonic blues scale. It just didn't teach me any improvisation or soloing right off the bat. I had to learn that a little later on. So Wipeout was right off from the top of that little riff that it was teaching me in that book. So that was like my first connection to something that I tried on my own.
That's awesome. No, that's great. I love. I asked you that story about Hair of the Dog because I love how emotional your face gets about. It
was.
I met with somebody just recently, a good friend that I told her I was getting back into the entertainment business. And she says, "Look," she said, "every time you start talking about music, your face changes."
Yeah.
She said, "You were born to be in music. You just need to just." And I'm like, "Yeah, no." She goes, "I've never seen anybody with an expression like that. Once you start, like, you'll be like, oh, hey, how's it going? By the way, I'm like, you just have this whole new demeanor about you." I'm like, well, it's because it's music. That's what I love. It's like, I don't think I've ever met anybody who loves music as me.
Right.
I've met people who love music. You love music.
Absolutely.
But she's like, you like almost are obsessed with music. And it's like, well, I kind of am, because there's so much music out there that I haven't heard.
Oh my gosh.
Because now I'm just getting into stuff that was out during the time I was listening.
And you know what? That's probably the thing that I most regret. Because there were periods in my life where I was so focused on metal.
Yeah.
Or punk.
Yeah.
Or for a short time, outlaw country, but that I wouldn't even consider something else. And I think of all the things I may have missed out on. Like now, Carrie comes around and she listens to stuff that's completely different than what I was used to.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with the names, and I'm loving this stuff. Yeah. It's amazing, beautiful, wonderful music, and it's and a whole new world again.
Look, that's exactly why music is a universal language. It doesn't matter what style of music it is. That music means something to somebody. Right. And I've always said, "Oh, Nickelback sucks," or this. Like, you know what? Nickelback doesn't suck.
No,
Nickelback,
they don't. They have some pretty cool
Nickelback
songs.
knows how to write a hooky song.
It's too bad that they're so focused on little girls.
Yeah.
That all their songs, they have good music.
Oh, great music. Just the lyrics are awful. Same thing with Creed. You know what? I'm getting back into listening to Creed because at the time, Creed, Scott Stapp, he's a dead. You know what? They had some great albums.
Yes. So check out Postmodern Jukebox.
Actually, I've heard Postmodern Jukebox. That is some good shit.
Yeah.
I actually think I have some on the computer.
They do a version of Creep from Radiohead.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. but then they do a whole bunch of like they have these heavy metal or hard rock or different alternative rock songs that they turn into this 40s jazz stuff. It's cool.
Yeah, no, Postmodern Jukebox. I did a lot of YouTube videos of theirs because they're just it's awesome.
Yeah.
So so today is this is a great day. This was something I needed, was to have you come over and do this, because this is only the beginning, man. This is gonna go somewhere. I know it is. And to have people I know I can invite over and have an absolutely emotionally charged episode about music. You know, Randy last week, man. As soon as Randy got going last week, it was on. Him and I today. This was an absolutely amazing talk tonight. The one thing I do want, though, is hit number 9 on your keyboard, please, Miss Mary. So the one thing I do want to talk about is, obviously, all of this stuff costs money for me to put this together and stuff, and I do have a Patreon page. So there is a QR code on here. If you would scan that QR code with your phone, you can go right to my Patreon page. As little as $5 a month, you're going to get actually behind-the-scenes access to the soundtrack that we're listening to during the podcast. You'll actually get a Spotify playlist of all the music that's on there for a certain amount. I think it's like $25 a month. I actually have backstage pass T-shirts and stuff like that. I have some merch that I'm going to be giving away to those people. Anything you could do on the Patreon page is going to help 100%, because I got people that are going to be coming a long way, and I want to be able to cook them a nice dinner, give them some gas money, and stuff like that. So if you could, please scan the QR code, go to the Patreon page, join my Patreon, and help the channel out. I appreciate it very much. Go ahead and go back to number 6, 4, 5, whatever you want to do. Once again, anytime you come over for this, you're going to get fed like a king. The pork chops were awesome tonight. I do have to say I enjoyed them very much. I wish the music in the green room would have been a little bit better tonight, but the record I wanted to play, my Shinedown record is warped. Warped, like this. So I'm sorry, Patrick, I'm going to have to put some weight on it and reflatten it out. That's actually my friend Patrick's album. He bought it. Oh, no. He bought it for us to listen to. He kept it in the plastic the whole time I was in Florida. So we'll get it fixed. If not, I'll just buy a new one. It's a great album. Yeah. I love that album. So, brother, I appreciate you coming over here and hanging out with me tonight, and of course bringing your beautiful Carrie. Thank you very much back there. I hope you enjoyed yourself as well. Everybody, thank you very much for watching episode number 2 of Dr. Rock's Backstage Pass. Much love. I have no idea what camera's on right now, so I'm just going to say peace, love, and music, because that's what I am all about.
Thank you all.
Yes.